We are up to an interesting conversation today.
Yeah, indeed. I think it is going to be very exciting.
We know that deploying AI at a large scale comes with its own risk.
Yeah, I'm particularly excited about the open sourcing stuff.
The enterprise adoption of AI is probably still at the beginning stage.
Llama 2 has been the clear leader.
Last week, Google announced Gemini 1.5.
Coming into the space of a conversational search engine or a discovery engine.
We also worked in OpenAI. Hey Shiva, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, Jaideep. How are you?
I am doing good. I think we are up to an interesting conversation today. So, why don't we just get started?
Sure.
All right. So, there is a lot of talk about responsible AI in the industry of late, with the exploration of GenAI discussion in general. And as we know, that deploying AI at a large scale comes with its own risk, right? So,
Right.
for example, the recent Air Canada incident is a good example that read in the media. What exactly happened? Are you aware of that incident?
Yeah, I read about it too. So actually, this incident happened quite a while back in 20, and it probably got highlighted right now due to the court ruling. Air Canada had deployed a chatbot, and it gave some wrong information with respect to cancellation policy. And when Air Canada did not agree to that, then the customer went to the court saying that it is a chatbot that on your website which had given him or her the information. So while Air Canada was refuted that claim, saying it was chatbot's response and they could not be held liable for that response. So which is clearly incorrect, because AI is just a piece of software that is deployed by the organization for servicing the client, and the organization cannot really escape from the repercussions of how the software works and communicates with the client or customer. So it is, as I see it, I mean, it is the responsibility of the development team uh, not to really get carried away by the fluency that is introduced by large language models or generative AI, and ensure the accuracy of the information that is uh, communicated to the customers as per their policies, as per their standards. It's really up to the team which is deploying the AI solution to take care of that.
I guess it's a timely discussion considering the enterprise adoption of AI is probably still at the beginning stage of the cycle, right?
Correct.
And these are all relevant conversation. Um,
Yeah.
Talking about timeline, so I remember seeing last week Google announced Gemini 1.5, and with this release, probably Google is up level their Gen AI game once again, and now they're back in the front row for AI discussion. What's your take on Google's overall LLM strategy?
Yeah, indeed. I think it is going to be very exciting. Google has always been the first mover in some of the basic technologies that brought forth uh, GenAI and LLMs to the forefront. And with Gemini 1.5, what they've really done is they have really upped the level of prompting that is accepted. For example, I mean, Gemini 1.5 has a context window of 1 million tokens, which is about an hour of video or a Word document of about 700,000 words.
Massive.
And yeah, and interestingly, Gemini also seems to use the mixture of experts architecture, uh, which was earlier launched by Mistral for their model, and making the large language model more efficient. So I am really excited. I think a lot of people in the industry are also very excited, and they're going to watch what Google does this year. Just a few days later, I mean, Google also released uh, Gemma, its first open source LLM with 7 billion parameters, and uh, with Google trying to kind of get the act right, it's going to be very, very exciting for the Gen AI space in 20.
Yeah, looks like the space is heating up, and
Exactly.
more competition is probably healthier for the overall industry in general, right?
Right, right. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I'm particularly excited about the open sourcing stuff because Llama 2 has been the clear leader from Meta. But with Google joining the core of open source models, I think it's going to be very exciting for a lot of organizations like ours to experiment and then customize a lot of the outputs coming out from the large language model.
Yeah, true, true. I think this was long due from Google. They were kind of under pressure to come up with an open source model, which they have delivered now. This is going to be
Exactly.
interesting, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Definitely a space to watch in the coming days.
Yes. Yeah.
I think the other news that I see is this Perplexity AI. They are kind of a new kid in the block, right? And they seem to be catching a lot of media attention of late. I watched an interview with Perplexity CEO Arvind Srinivas, and I was very excited to see the capabilities. I then sort of tried out a little bit about Perplexity and tried to understand how it works. Um, what do you think about Perplexity? I mean, do you have any specific thoughts or point of view on them?
Yeah, like you, I mean, I've also experimented with it a bit, and Perplexity and some other sort of software like U.com, they are uh, coming into the space of a conversational search engine or a discovery engine, marrying the power of search and discovery with the fluency of large language models. What they're trying to do is create a more contextual AI assistant for researchers, for discovery, and even for regular searchers like ours, right? This whole space is going to be very, very interesting to watch. And in fact, there are also enterprise players like Glean. Uh, they're trying to kind of bring the entire enterprise knowledge together at the fingertip of users through search and discovery engines, which are very fluent with their answers. They can create stuff using the enterprise knowledge base and documents. This whole space is again going to be very, very exciting. We might see some new leaders coming up in the search and discovery space in the next couple of years.
Interestingly, Arvind is from IIT Chennai, so from yeah, kind of in a way your alumni network from bigger
Right,
IITs.
right,
One thing he mentioned is that one of their top mission is to improve the accuracy of those answers,
correct.
and that's what they are committed to do. And at some point of time, they may also consider commercial propositions, but right now they are actually focusing on improving their accuracy and speed both.
Yeah, yeah. So if I remember correctly, Arvind also worked with Google, so he probably yeah, has those search hats and to go on. And definitely, I mean, accuracy and fluency, all of this need to be married together because you can't be completely uh, uh, inaccurate while trying to generate a lot, as we saw in
Yeah,
the incident itself, right? So everything has to be anchored or tied to a fact if you are trying to make search interesting.
yeah, no, that's true. Interestingly, he also worked in OpenAI, so I think he has a
Right.
good combination of Google and OpenAI background as he builds this place. I think this was interesting, Shiva, to catch up with you and catch up with some of the latest buzz. That's all for this segment, and we'll move to now the second segment. Okay, Shiva, I think that was an interesting conversation in terms of what's happening in the media side. Maybe let's switch gear and talk about how businesses can think about starting to drive their own AI adoption, especially if I look at from in terms of the cross industry, what can they maybe start with, what would be their foundation, and how can they accelerate while continuing on the path of their own digital transformation.
Right. Was the industry, I mean, if you look at from a fundamental shift standpoint, I mean, what does GenAI bring to the table? It really brings to the table the ability to stitch together information from multiple contexts and create a fluent response for the business user. So the three common areas that we have seen where a lot of cross-industry applications are coming up are in one is in the area of knowledge management. Obviously, I mean there have been systems for knowledge management, content management for a long time. Uh, uh, with GenAI, what is coming to the fore is the ability to sort of keep those systems current and able to ability to answer specific use cases, specific questions on the fly for business users. So that is something that is coming up across the industry, I would say. And the second area is code. So the ability to sort of generate code automatically, improving coder productivity, even write test cases and validate your code with a higher productivity. And the third area that we have been looking at, which is across industries, is marketing. For example, I saw a recent news item about the couple of largest marketing companies in the world, advertising companies in the world, WPP and Publicis. Their investor presentations and investor calls were pattered with AI all around, and WPP in fact demoed their internal application where they have enabled almost 30,000 users for using GenAI more effectively. They have created sandbox and they have created custom prompts uh, and for their internal employees to use GenAI more effectively as they sort of service their clients. So these are, I would say, three areas. Coding productivity is something that is getting impacted uh, by GenAI technology adoption across various industries.
Marketing is certainly the one that I'll be interested more. I continue to dig into what I see there a lot of scope in automation. There's a lot of scope in basically integrating AI in your content creation,
Exactly.
regeneration of certain repurposing of some of the content and all of that, and also getting insights, right? Because there is so much of conversation going around in the social media and broad outside. It is interesting how GenAI can probably help bringing in those insights and serve it in a way that you can do queries and other stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
So certainly something that we can continue to look forward to, and in the future probably I'll ask you more questions on that. But meanwhile, as we see that with increased amount of access to customer data, brands are definitely in a better position to serve this customer in a more personalized way today, right?
absolutely,
And I
absolutely.
think every consumer brand today are taking this probably with utmost seriousness in terms of improving the customer experience in general.
Correct.
So how can Gen AI can play a role here in terms of increasing the customer experience for their consumer, the customers, as well as internally improving the service delivery, and in a way, they figure out a way to how to measure tangibly the outcome and the efficiency of their operations through GenAI. What is your take on this?
So, the way I see it is Gen AI and associated technologies really can help bring multiple silos of information together to improve customer experience. For example, if you take the case of a service agent trying to solve a customer's problem, uh, with generative AI technology, the service agent can have access to information about the customer, knowing about the product or the service that the customer is asking for resolution, uh, which I would call it as product 360, and also know a lot more about the issue or the problem that that the service agent is about to trying to solve for the customer. So I would call that as an issue or a problem 360. So you bring in all these 360 degrees views together, and that gives you the sweet spot where you are able to sort of engage with the customer more meaningfully, solve the problem in a quicker manner, and also in a more effective manner because you know the entire history of the issues with that particular product. So that is the power of where I can see uh, these three contexts coming together and helping in a better customer experience.
Got it. So will this Gen AI layer will be sitting on top of your data layer and sort of extracting, stitching together and extracting the customer insights in more holistic way to and serve the agent? Will that is how it
Yeah,
is going to work?
absolutely. I mean, so it will it sits typically on top of your service management systems, uh, uh, where you have like call logs and all that, and then you can actually do a lot of sentiment analysis as well as classification of issues, uh, and even look at social media feeds, like let's say from because a lot of customer service requests are posted on Twitter, etc. So you can look at social media feeds, and then you can also bring in the history of the customer interaction together, value to the customer coming in by bringing in all of these views together in one place so that the service agent or the customer experience person can really make a more meaningful conversation with the customer as well as improve the customer experience.
So from an adoption standpoint, is it, I mean, how does a customer go about? So is it advisable that they experiment with a smaller set of data before sort of scaling it up, or how do they go about in terms of adoption?
So I would say with emerging technologies of LLMs and large language models, I mean that part is really shortened. And that is the real benefit that we are seeing right now because you can quickly get to scaling in 2 to 3 weeks time, right? Because
Wow. Okay.
as we saw in the earlier conversation, also has a context window of 1 million tokens, right? So you don't need to sort of really break down your call logs or by too much. And so before Gen AI, I mean, that is what we are doing. I mean, all these technologies are not new. So we were a lot of the sentiment analysis. It used to take time, and then with Gen AI, with large language models, the time to actually market has really shortened.
I remember you mentioned for Gemini 1.5, it's 700 pages, and
Yeah,
that's like a crazy.
700,000 pages. Yeah, yeah,
Wow, 700.
700,000 words. Sorry. Yeah,
Sorry, 700,000 words, right? So which
correct.
means maybe 50 or 60 books, or maybe 70 books.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Correct.
All right, that was good catching up, Shiva, and we'll continue to discuss on this topic and understand how enterprise can adopt Gen AI more pragmatically and quickly. Thanks
Yeah.
for your time.
Thank you.